Look at how much bigger his head is than mine.
Wouldn't it look weird if your head looked ginormous and mine looked tiny?
Well, mine could look slightly bigger. I mean,
if I lean back up.
No, that's not good either. Here we are for the 25th anniversary celebrating Triple H's legendary career.
Legend, 25 years, that's too long. It's just a long time. I'm just old.
Quarter of a century.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is how you find out what went down. Good segue, right?
It's good.
Wow! Hunter Hearst Helmsley! Great looks, huh? Here's what we've been waiting for!
So this is the first WrestleMania, and you know, it's a funny thing because a lot of people will point this out as like a downer in my career or this embarrassing thing or like that it was this terrible moment. And, you know, we've talked about this a lot. Warrior talked about it before he passed, like that some of our interactions with each other weren't necessarily perfect that day. But for me, this was an unbelievable, an amazing experience. You know, even though this was sort of after the curtain call and all that, Vince came to me and had asked me about working with Warrior at WrestleMania, and like, you know, he wasn't going to be there, Ultimate Warrior. So his first appearance was going to be at WrestleMania. So I was going to do all the media. So this is one of the biggest legends in the business coming back into the business. And I'm there, and I did all the media for it. I did every bit of promotion for it. As far as the match goes, this is what it was designed to be. There was no you know, misinterpreting what this was supposed to be. This was the launching pad to get Ultimate Warrior back up. At this point in my WWE run, I'm undefeated. But what does Warrior do? He takes your finish, he stands up, he runs around, doesn't sell it, and then hits you with his. That's what he does. So it wasn't like there was a shocking surprise of what this match was going to be to me.
You look shocked right there.
Yeah, I look shocked. But you know, that to me, this was an amazing experience. Especially first WrestleMania, just getting to be out there and getting to be out there with a legend in the business. One of the biggest names there'd ever been.
What was your role in this? I mean, you talk about the opportunity that you were given. You were clearly the heel.
Yeah,
right?
Look, I'm the bad guy, the pompous Greenwich snob that is going to get shut up after a year of being undefeated by the returning Ultimate Warrior, the superhero Ultimate Warrior. So that's what this is all about. No matter how you look at that match, it was WrestleMania, my first WrestleMania. It was the Arrowhead Pond. It was completely sold out. It was an awesome experience. Yeah, I think, you know, for Mick and I, we had, anytime we ever stepped in the ring together from, you know, we had done, I don't remember if it was Falls Count Anywhere or Street Fight or whatever it was in Calgary. We had done this King of the Ring. We had done bits and pieces of things that were just put together and ended up being much bigger than they were expected to be. We just had amazing chemistry together as performers, and sort of my pompous, arrogant character with his sort of disheveled psychopath character, it worked. And in this environment, it really worked, especially King of the Ring. You know, no surprise was from a year earlier, was something that was supposed to happen for me because of the curtain call, everything else. It went with Austin. So a year later to come back and be back in this position was awesome for me. And to do it with Foley was great. I mean, he was just such an unbelievable performer, and he brought out the best in me every single time we stepped out there.
Why do you think? How did he bring out the best in you?
I just think he would, we just pushed each other to different levels. You know, Mick would do just about anything, and I think he would get me to that point as well. And there's a dynamic between performers when you have chemistry together, and we did, and you can't also at this point in time, the building of the China character of just being this monster that would eventually go on to take on guys, win, the Intercontinental Championship, and
First
just,
and only woman.
yeah,
right?
just have this unbelievable run. And Mick as this indestructible sort of character, but yet for her to do damage to him, for us to have all of this momentum behind this was incredible. And when this is over, you will see that there was a desire for me to become the guy that wore the cape and the crown all the time, that it would work with the character. And I was trying to morph out of the Greenwich snob character into the much more attitudinally driven Triple H, and do it sort of organically. So there was a desire for me to wear that cape and crown all the time. You will see me destroy the crown on Mick. We would get to TV, they would bring me another crown, which I would quickly destroy on Mick, and then they brought me a third crown, which I completely destroyed on Mick, until I came back after like the third one, and they were like, "You're just not going to wear that crown, are you?" And I was like, "Prefer not to." And that was the end of the crown for me.
This crown?
Yeah.
So you're saying it wasn't a very expensive crown?
It was multi-million-dollar plastic beads, and yeah. But so
it looks so expensive.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't even want to put it on my head.
Oh, look, it has the logo on top.
To be honest, I know where that crown is, and it looks like a birthday cake. Really, it looks like a birthday cake.
And there you are destroying it.
Yeah. And thank God Mick is tough, because I really my goal in this was not to get heat on Mick. In my mind, even though that's what I was supposed to be doing, it was just at all costs make this crown unwearable.
Oh, well, I was just watching as a fan at that time, and I remember not liking your character very much.
That's the point. That was the
But
point.
I loved China.
Yeah.
I really did. And, to see such a strong female presence who was really impactful in matches, and not just, sort of eye candy standing on the side. That's what I thought. The package was really, really intriguing.
Sean and I made a distinct effort to not allow her to do anything like, at that time, women performers were all trained in certain ways and to do specific things. So they didn't hit the same way. They didn't clothesline the same way. They slammed people differently. They tucked the head differently. It was just a different style of performance, because they were trained differently, and we would never allow her to do anything that made her look like a woman as a performer. So like, if we were going to have her slam somebody, we wanted them to slam them the same way we would do it, and not like she was trained to do it, which was like a female. We spent all day one day working with her on how to throw forearms, where she looked like she was knocking people's heads off, because women were trained to do them differently. That striking wasn't something they were heavily taught. So the striking difference, the slams, the way to throw a clothesline differently than the women were trained to do it, was all in an attempt to try to make her completely different. While everybody knew it was a woman and a powerful woman, but she did things differently than any other woman you'd ever seen before.
Well, even just at the end of that match, you guys high-fived.
Yeah.
Right? That's very different than typically how our female valets were perceived, and that's obviously intentional.
Yep.
It's not what she was.
Yep.
Today, we embark on a mission. We have seen the enemy, and they are near.
Obviously, the war was in full bloom.
The Monday Night Wars.
The Monday Night Wars, and WCW was doing a thing with we would have towns booked a long period of time in advance, and they would come in and try to book, in close proximity to us, to try to take away from our shows. And this was another one of those examples. And this came up on a phone call where we were just talking about them, and they were saying, they're just down the road at Norfolk that night. And one of us said, it was me and a couple of the writers, Vince, and one of us said, God, man, I hate that. I'd like to drive a tank down there or something like that. And it was like his long pause, and then what if we did something like that, and it became a thing. So when we got there that day, nobody knew about it. Billy didn't, kid didn't, dog didn't, no one. The funny thing about that cannon shot is, and there is actual footage of us shooting that cannon off. For the first time we did it with the big megaphone and the whole thing, and I made the big announcement, and all the fans were cheering, and the guy pulled the thing, and nothing happened. Like a little piece fell out the end of the cannon. Yeah, you make a big deal out of it. It misfire, but we didn't know what we were going to do. We just said we're going to take a megaphone. We'll see what's there. We wanted to get in the building. We tried to go down the ramp to get in the building. If I could do it again, I would have gone down the ramp first. We didn't go down the ramp till later. By then they knew we were there and they shut the door on us. But like as far as the fans being there, the fans going crazy first, we didn't know if that would happen or not. There was a big billboard out front that was playing a video saying that the tickets were free, that you could get into the building for free. That just happened. So we were like, oh my God, look at the sign. That's great. Shoot that. Here's what we'll do. We'll drive the tank over there. I'm going to start. And I had no plan of what I was going to say. I just had a megaphone and a big mouth and was just running my mouth the entire time. And we were just doing crazy stuff, but it was insane. The only thing we had a plan of is if we did get in the building, how we would get out of there with footage. We had a dummy camera and fake tapes. It was big tapes at the time and all that stuff in a way to be able to do the switch so somebody could get out of there with the tapes in case we got shut down and they tried to take all the stuff. We didn't know if we were going to get arrested. We didn't know any of it. So this was craziness and just something insane. But to me, this was the Attitude Era, as all this was evolving. I did an interview with JR. That wasn't a scripted interview. It was just me and JR and backstage. And I did a cut and it became very passionate. And, when they asked me, when he was talking about my position, and I said, everybody here talks about being a student of the game, because that's how I saw myself. I felt like nobody was going to outwork me and outthink me and study it and out all those things. Like I was into it at every waking moment. And when I said to JR, you guys talk about to be successful, you have to be a student of the game. Well, that I am the game. Because it was beyond that for me. But it stuck, man. The next week when I went out, there were signs everywhere, the game and all this. And I remember walking out on stage and seeing the signs and thinking like, well,
that worked.
They bought into that. They bought into that. So that's the new go-to.
Accompanied by Linda McMahon, the matriarch of the McMahon family.
Oh, there's my mom with Mick.
So just to backtrack on this one to give you the story, Foley and I in 2000 had a street fight at the Royal Rumble. A month later, have Hell in the Cell, and Foley retires. He has short hair in this because he actually thought he was retiring. He had cut all his hair off and was just being a regular dude. And they called him and asked him to come back at WrestleMania. And the reason was because Austin was supposed to make a return between a big main event at WrestleMania between me and The Rock. Only Austin wasn't ready yet. And Vince came to us and asked us about pushing that singles match another month out or 2 months. I can't remember which one. And when Austin would be ready, and we'd pull the trigger on that then, but let's go to the four-way. And I believe, if I have my dates correct, that Rock and I the contemplation was that this WrestleMania was going to be an Iron Man match between the two of us. We ended up doing that later. But so we went with a McMahon in every corner.
The event that my father created, our Super Bowl, our World Cup, if you will, it was... it was incredible to be a part of the storyline with Triple H anyway, in and of itself. And then also to be out there with my whole entire family, like my mom, can you imagine seeing your little mom over there and she's, all giving it her all in Mick Foley's corner, and my brother and my dad. And it's just isn't everyone's family like this?
So I'll give you a couple of things, two things. One of the things I remember in the day is earlier in the day of this is trying to put this match together in the back, and me and Rock looking over at Big Show, who was asleep on the couch with his mouth open, and we spent the next 15 minutes trying to get grapes in his mouth without waking him up from the other side of the couch. But there's a moment in this prior to me beating Foley where we set Rock up. Foley and I actually worked together to set up the Rock on a table, and Foley goes to the top rope and he's going to drop an elbow on the Rock. We spoke about it beforehand, and when I said to Rock and I both said to Mick during the afternoon, "You sure you can jump that far? That looks really far." And he was like, "Yeah, no problem. I do it all the time." And so we get out there. I put Rock on the table.
There's my dad beating you up.
My God. That was real, I guarantee it. Here comes Shane. That was real too.
Yeah. And that's just, life at my house.
That's Thanksgiving right there.
I don't know why I looked so surprised. Yeah. I mean, it was not
Pat
unusual.
And Jerry, the Stooges.
Not to be outdone. No one ever gets one over on my dad. Even my brother.
Those are all real right there. So anyway, Foley goes up to the top rope on Rock where, I'm holding Rock, and I look up, and as soon as he gets to the top rope, I realize he realizes it. Foley, I see it in his face. He realizes there is no way he can jump all the way to this table. And I tell Rock, oh my God, he ain't going to make it. And he jumps off and does not make it. He ends up catching the corner of the table right in the rib cage. And I hear every bit of the wind knock out of him, like, wee. And he just crumples over, and I jump up and I do something to Rock to put him through the table. And when I go back to pick up Mick Foley and ask him, are you okay? Because it looked like he killed himself. All he could mutter was the word, nope. And I rolled him in the ring and I said, just take a pedigree. So we have a thing in our business called, if there's a manager or somebody at ringside, we call them cutaways, right? So if action happens in the ring, you cut away to the person ringside and their reaction. Steph is what in the business we call a cutaway machine. At any point in time, you're going to have a facial reaction that you can always, if you're at a loss for something happening or action or whatever it is, you can always cut to Steph and she'll have the appropriate reaction on her face.
Or overreaction.
Yeah, that makes you either more engaged or laugh or something, but it's the perfect reaction in the moment in time. So I love those reactions. And obviously a different place in our lives, but very cool to be out there with you and have that, that whole experience, just craziness.
The undisputed championship on the line. Senior referee Earl Hebner assigned this contest.
I told my squad the year prior as probably one of the biggest bad guys in the business. And then, 9 months later, the Royal Rumble, I come back, made my return at Madison Square Garden, and was a huge babyface moment. Chris Jericho at this point in time is the heel undisputed champion. And because I'm a babyface and Steph is so hated, there's a split moment between the two of us where we are
on opposite sides.
And there's the sort of the divorce, and we're splitting everything in half, and Jericho
War
is
of the
a part
Roses.
of that. Yeah.
Well, and it, Hunter selling himself short. I mean, he was the first athlete to ever come back from a quad tear across all sports, professional sports, the very first athlete to come back from that injury and resume his sport. And the videos that were shown of what it took, of his rehab, of, what he put himself through. I mean, that's part of what turned the crowd, because that was real and they felt it and they knew how much he loved this business to return to it. And when he came back in Madison Square Garden, it was the biggest ovation, one of the biggest ovations I've ever heard in my life. And now, of course, and they never liked me, so we had to get divorced. And this was like icing on the cake for our audience, because if anyone deserved a pedigree, it was me. And the way I treated, all of our my character, all of our performers, and always putting, our own personal interests ahead of what was good for everybody else. So ultimately, Of course, in this case, the good guy wins.
The goal is always first rule of our business at any level is protect your opponent, right? So you just either do or you don't. And there's no sort of, well, I'll protect you more or I'll protect you less. It's just you either do it and it's all out and you commit to it and it is safe, or you do it halfway and it doesn't look good and it's hopefully safe, So this is just one of those things with Steph where, yeah, you're very nervous to want to make sure you don't hurt anyone, but more so there because it's one, somebody I care about, but two, obviously, I'm a lot bigger and a lot heavier and everything else, and it can go bad. So you protecting is the first and foremost thing. But whether that would be Chris or anybody else, that's your first thought is to do it safely. If you can't do it safely, don't do it. Just prior to WrestleMania, my knee had really started to bother me, but it wasn't where my quad was. It was to the other side, but it was bugging me a lot. And to the point where I went in to get it looked at because I thought maybe something's wrong in here and I'm pushing too hard, too fast. And what had happened is one of the sutures had pulled the corner of my kneecap off and it had fractured my kneecap. So a chunk of bone had moved off and floated to the side of my kneecap. And I didn't know it, but it was just there. And they were like, look, we can go in and try to get that out. But if it's just sitting where if you can move your leg and it's not that bad, just, and you can deal with it. And so I just dealt with it. And it was never a problem. I still have it recalcified to my knee and it's just in a different place now. But, it's kind of what you do. So there was some tension leading up.
That's what you do.
Yeah, leading up even to that, there was tension. Like things weren't 100%, but I'm still going to get to the spot, So this is a great period of time for me, evolution. It's hard for me to say a peak of my career or anything else, but like at this point when we're getting into doing evolution, this was sort of a concept of like, how can we take the business needs some new fresh blood and it needs new stars. Ric Flair is this huge legend, but he's doing nothing. He's lost his confidence. But if I could help Rick get to where he was, he can be a valuable asset. And if we can do that by putting a group together, which I always liked the concept of, and then take a couple of young guys that we really believed could get to that level and help them get there. So this was, evolution was legitimate from the standpoint of here are a couple new guys that we believe in. Rick as the senior member and the veteran that we could all learn from and the legend, and then me as the guy in that top guy position that could also help these guys get to another level. And all of us being together every day and being able to learn from each other and grow, and to watch Dave become a megastar and Randy become a megastar, it was awesome. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the cool part of it is the association to Rick. That was sort of, if you break it down to the period before WWE, that was Rick's title, right? Like Rick made that title what it was from the NWA to WCW and all of that. So it was that title. So to have that with him was even that much cooler. It was sort of the whole thing was sort of a throwback, and it just made a lot of sense. And we all became very close in that period of time, but I drove up and down the roads. Rick for me was my idol growing up. Like in the business, I idolize him. I still think he's, greatest performer, one of the greatest performers certainly ever. And but then to become that close of friends with him and to see all of this grow, to watch him get his confidence back and become go back to, I used to tell him all the time during that period of time, you're the only guy in this building that doesn't know you're Ric Flair. So to see it all come to be and, Rick sort of rise back into that prominent role, Randy become just a star, and to see that not only them becoming stars, but to see it right in front of you and to be there. Like we'd be on the road together doing 6-man tags, and we're all going out together and doing all the stuff, and I'm watching the reaction there go big every night, grow and grow and grow. And I don't even know if they were aware of it because they were just so enamored with the process in that moment in time. But as you move through it and you see them start to gain confidence and you see them start to understand the concepts and the principles of all of it, and just grow into being megastars where you then begin in that process to learn as much from them as they're learning, hopefully, from you and from Rick. And for me to travel up and down the road with those guys, and especially with Rick every single day, it was, if not the greatest point of my career, certainly a highlight of my career for sure.
Here we go.
This was something that we had talked about for 4 years. This is the payoff of the 2 matches with Shawn, the 2 matches with me, with Taker, but also, I don't know, sort of the payoff of the era that we were in, our generation. And this was kind of the cap of it. Austin was gone, Rock was gone, Foley was gone. Like all these people were gone, at least full time. We were kind of sort of the end of it. And, you still had bits and pieces of it here and there, but from that top position, and that's sort of how we viewed it. So there's almost never a time that I can recall that you could say 4 guys sat down, talked about a storyline that could last 4 years, and it all worked. We all did our things in between, but to get back to that every year, and to have it work the way that it did, and then to have this moment of The Undertaker, the undefeated streak, where it was Hell in a Cell, a match that, if you were to say who made Hell in a Cell synonymous, there's probably 3 names that are mentioned: Foley, Taker, and me. Taker and I think had, like, between the 2 of us, had 2/3 of the Hell in a Cell matches that ever were at this point in time. They just became synonymous with us in a way. And so to wrap it up in this one, and the best part about this was, as we were going into this, one of the things that I loved about it was we put together the end of this and the finish of it, and the emotion of what would transpire between me, Shawn, and Taker, and how it would go down leading into the finish. And it took us a while to get that down, to get the emotion to where we felt like it should be. And then once we did, I trained my ass off for an entire year to be able to lift him up like that. But once we did get that end down, Mark and I looked at each other and said, all right, now we just got to put together the rest of the match. And he looked at me and he said, you want to just do it out there? And I smiled and said, hell yeah. And we went to the ring. So almost everything that we were doing before we get to the big finishing sequence was just all of us just reacting to each other and working with each other and putting it together. And it just one of those things that it just across the board, it all worked and it felt like magic. And to me, that moment right there where he took a super kick and a pedigree, and Shawn's reaction to that, when, we talked about it before getting in the ring, and we knew this was the moment. Like, if anything blows the roof off, that moment is what does it. The difference is big. There's the sound goes out, there's a delay in the reactions a little bit and all that. When you're first doing them, it can be a bit disorienting, and for talent to be like, man, that was totally different, and it's a different experience. At this point in time, we all have so much mileage, and I don't think too many things that could happen in the ring that we, between myself and Shawn, don't just go, all right, I got this. Even at this point in time, when we're doing it as limited as we are, to me, the crowd was deafening. All of it worked exactly how we wanted it to. It was physical. It was it was everything we wanted it to be. And at this point in time, now it's over. We know what we've done, but now this part of it to me is where we're done performing. You know, he's going to do his Shakespeare, we call it. But there's a moment here where we're just done performing and we all pick each other up. We all walk to the back, you know, still in character. But this moment right here of the three of us standing here, you know, looking back over that crowd, this hug, this is as real as it gets in our business.
3 of the greatest of all time.
There's moments in that Hell in the Cell where I'm wearing him out with a chair and I'm, you know, I am swinging for the fences because this is it. And I'm giving it everything I got. And I know how bad it is. And the only thing that allows me to be able to do it the way it is, one, I know he wants it that way, and two, I know he's about to give it all back to me. And you know, when you're getting those at that level of intensity with a 300-pound, you know, swinging Undertaker, when you're getting the last couple, you're thinking, please don't that be the last one. You know, it's intense.
Well, and you want to talk about your entrance here
Well,
too?
so, you know, this is when you do characters like we did with the Authority thing, the idea of it is that eventually the right thing comes along that you can dump all of that heat into and have it work. For months leading into it, you know, there's a lot of speculation about the Daniel Bryan thing. Organically, the crowd was getting behind Daniel Bryan. And
the ultimate underdog.
A lot of us kept saying we should be going with Daniel. Like we should get, like they're going there. There's going to be no choice. They're leading us there. And I think as a company, we were still trying to go in the direction we were trying to go in. A series of events happen where it organically becomes Daniel, but it's the perfect storm. Like we are the perfect antagonists of the business that they are fighting against, that the fans are fighting against, that he's fighting against. You know, our ability to look at him as somebody that wouldn't normally make it and tell him you're the B+ player, but that's good, right? You're good. You're a B+ player. You're just not good enough for an A+ player. And to be able to have him prove that wrong, this is one of those epic moments where we have the opportunity now to make a guy fight against every odd there is. If he can beat me in the opening match of WrestleMania, he gets to go on against Batista and Randy Orton. You know, like the odds of him succeeding in this are so slim. He's already injured from my attacks earlier. Like there's just so much storyline to this that led to the perfect moment. Steph was the perfect bad guy boss, both of us. She made his wife's, you know, life a living hell. Like it on every level it worked. And, you know, to have this kind of crowning moment is why you do this.
Out of the corner. No! Daniel Bryan! No! Can he do it? Yes! Yes!
Incredible. This is one of those things where
you see the shocked look again.
The opening match of WrestleMania is designed to, you know, to get the things rolling, and it's always super loud. But when you give them that level of storyline in the opening contest, they see this epic entrance was designed to make me seem like the most pompous guy in the world, to Daniel coming out, to them being his entrance, right? The sea of 80,000 people doing his yes movement. They are his entrance.
Oh yeah, see, I'm not happy about
this. I will tell you right there how tough Daniel is to take those slaps and not sell them. Is like it's one of the toughest things I've ever seen. And then, of course, this is the setup of us now injuring. I've lost, but Daniel is now injured. Going, can he even compete in the rest of the show? And
yeah, we're not going to let him win that title at the end of the night. There's no way.
This is the oh, I see there. The last chapter of the book, and nope, there's a big swerve at the end. But again, this is one of those things with Daniel where he was so good as the believable underdog character. And there were moments in the build to that where, Daniel was wrestling on TV and people were, debating about should he win this match or should he lose this match. And Daniel was saying, no, please have me lose, because every time people are getting madder and madder and madder and madder that I keep getting booked to lose. This is great. You win when it counts,
And he really was the voice of the people. And that was his whole point, that when you have everyone with you and everyone behind you, that you can really impact change and affect change. And, that was just really resonated at that point in time with society, in general. This was our biggest in-stadium audience ever, over 101,000 people at AT&T Stadium. And I'm actually suspended, so I'm almost like floating in the midst of the crowd, and I have the chance to introduce Triple H and give this huge monologue about how people are sheep and they're lambs and they just follow and they don't really have a mind of their own, and all of this incredible stuff. And I remember, about 30 seconds before I went out there, I felt like I was just going to drop dead. Like I was never going to be able to deliver these lines. I was just going to forget everything. And, it went through my mind as an Eleanor Roosevelt quote about, you have to do something you're afraid of every day. And I thought about the moment and the opportunity I had to introduce Triple H, who was at the time the WWE champion and the biggest WrestleMania of all time, the event that my father had created, and to give him the biggest entrance possible and to try to make him the biggest villain possible, because at that time, as you mentioned, the crowd was kind of wishy-washy on Roman. And I was just so proud to be a part of it.
It was awesome to have Steph give me that setup too. There's nobody better at getting that kind of heat than she is.
People hate me naturally. I don't know what that is.
This was an interesting one too, because at this point in time in my career, I was a surprise entrant into the Royal Rumble. The Royal Rumble was the winner would become champion, and that was kind of the spot where I came out of nowhere and became champion again as the setup to Roman becoming the guy. And this is again a long story coming. When you get to WrestleMania, though, this is where our most passionate fans are. And this is where, when you're in a position like Roman was, where some of the people love him and some of the people don't, that, it kind of comes out in these events. And this will be a huge moment.
I'm about to, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep. There it was.
Yep. And again, that's one of those things where you say, boy, I bet you that's a lot of pressure on Roman, the boss, and all that. But you either do it or you don't do it. And, we'd rather all do it and have it look great and then sort of go from there, and Steph's pretty tough. So she took it like a champ.
I'd have to be growing up a McMahon. But here we go. It was actually a big cheer. when Roman speared me, for sure.
No matter how big of a good guy or bad guy you are for that crowd, whether they're cheering you or booing you, if you do something physical to Steph, they cheer.
They cheer. Weirdest thing. But I remember, Paul trying to teach me how to take the moment in, and look around at the people. And really feel all of the energy of all of the people. And we have our three little girls in the front row. My three nephews are in the front row. I mean, and of course our parents, and to just really feel the moment, because this was this the last main event that Triple H would ever be in at WrestleMania, especially as the champion.
Yeah, I mean, look, I was fortunate to be in this one. So at this point in my career, they're all bonuses, right? It's just what they are. They're bonus matches that just are icing on the cake. And any one of them that you get, you try to do the best you can. You try to remember them as big as you can. And it doesn't get any bigger than AT&T Stadium with the guy that's probably the face of the business in a way at this point in time, Roman Reigns, and I was thrilled to be able to be in there with him and honored to be in there with him.
As was I, and you.
Same here. At this point, too, for me, these are epic moments of like getting to go out there with Steph. Like, it's hard to explain because at this point, while the moments of themselves are huge match wise and all that stuff, being able to do them, it's like the end of an era match. You're doing them with your peers like Taker and Sean, the guys I'm closest to be able to go out there with Steph and experience these things late in my career, it was more meaningful than I can say.
This time I had to drive my own trike. It was a little bit different.
Yeah, so there was an opportunity
with an all-female. I'm sorry, but all-female biker gang.
I think that was the opportunity here to position this in a different way. All-female bikers, Steph riding her own trike. Like, this was, in some way, while we were making it in a way happen, this match for me was one thing. It was about Steph and Ronda. It was about making Ronda somebody that a lot of people coming in were excited about her coming in because she was a huge name, but were hesitant to why she was doing it. Could she do it? Could she succeed? Would it be okay? Would she do a good job? Would she respect the business? What would she do?
This is her first ever match.
First ever match. And so the nerves for everybody on this, especially Ronda and and Steph, who, this is WrestleMania, one of the biggest matches at WrestleMania. She's in there with me. She's in there with Kurt Angle. She's in there with Ronda Rousey, one of the most recognizable people on the planet. And she knows that at some point in time, we are all going to make a tag, and Ronda is going to come in and beat the living daylights out of her. And you don't know at that point with adrenaline, how is that going to be?
Oh, here it comes.
Yeah.
And now it begins.
Is that going to be livable, or is she going to beat you like she has beaten opponents in the UFC? And this is where Steph proves how tough she is. And they did such an awesome job. This whole match it just went incredibly well. I think people were blown away by how good Ronda did. And Steph is the one that makes it.
Well, and Ronda getting to me is one thing, but then all the stuff she does with you, hopefully we're going to see that. Oh, yeah, there were a few live rounds in that exchange.
Yeah.
One is I had my hands up like this because I was protecting my face, and a couple shots came around, got me in the jaw, which I wasn't expecting. It's just, what an honor, what a privilege to be in there. To actually compete in the ring is a privilege anyway. To be in there with Paul, with Triple H, against Kurt Angle and Ronda in her first ever debut match. Because if this match wasn't good, it would have hurt her. And it was such a privilege. I can't even explain it. But this is the part I was talking about now.
To say how nervous and how well Ronda did, it's hard to even put into words how well she did in this environment.
How did that feel?
Those are almost all live rounds.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to make it through that.
She's tough.
Yeah.
Watch this. I think this blew everybody away. No one expected this, right? Ronda picks up Triple H. I use this in all my brand presentations, by the way, this still photo, because it's so awesome.
Yeah, me yelling for Steph right there is a complete reel. Save me.
Oh, now I've gone and done it.
This is the stuff to me where Ronda is just so good, taking her time on everything. You can talk about this stuff all day and you can put it all together, but getting it to actually happen the way you want it to and have her do everything right. And it just, my hat's off to
she's incredible,
Ronda, and to Steph, because not like Steph wrestles every day. So to put in this level of performance for both of them, Kurt and I, joked about it going into this thing. We're like the potted plants in this one. We're just there we're window dressing, you know.
Yeah, Kurt, an Olympic gold medalist himself.
But we were there
Oh,
to make Ronda look great and Steph be able to do that with her and this, one of those matches to me where
my first ever WrestleMania match, by the way.
yeah, and for us again, like Kurt is one of the guys that I just loved being in the ring with. He's so good. To have this with him this late in our careers, to have it be with Ronda.
Oh, now she's gonna get me.
And with
Where
Steph.
are you?
Yeah, Kurt just
Where
backdropped
were
me to
you?
the floor. It hurt.
I am hanging on for dear life.
I tell you where I am right now is I'm on the floor like a fan, just watching the monitor, watching this finish go down, and
please don't get my arm. Please
just
don't
like
get
a
my
fan.
arm. Oh, she's doing it.
Fingers
she's
slowly
gonna break
separate.
And she gets him. No! Oh my God! I know I'm dead. I know I'm dead. Please don't break my arm. Please don't break my arm. And she breaks my arm. Oh man! I'm still not right. There's Dana.
So many people were so proud of her to be able to make that transition from what
she makes it look easy, but it is not.
No, I've never. Kurt, I used to say all the time, Kurt picked up the business faster than anybody's seen in my life. He just was so good, so fast. Ronda picked it up quicker than he did. For this to be her first match and have a performance like that, I can't tell you how unbelievable that is.
Oh, I've got such goosebumps even just watching this.
Yeah, I haven't seen it since then. I think the respect level for Ronda at this point, she went from being an outsider in the WWE to being one of us in one night, which was the goal.
So there it is, just a few key highlights in the very long 25-year career of Triple H, the game.
It was a lot of fun, but as you see, that's what went down.